All right, I think we can begin. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Can I get a couple of thumbs up if you can hear me fine? You can see my screen, please, just to confirm everything is working as expected. Just a couple of thumbs up would be nice. Cool. All right, good morning, everyone. Ramadan Mubarak to you all. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's my absolute pleasure to be here. So, today's session is a 2 hour webinar where we'll be talking about the future of work with artificial intelligence and how artificial intelligence is reshaping the way organizations are doing their work. So we'll be going through a little bit about artificial intelligence in general, but particularly Microsoft 365 Copilot, and what insights does it provide the users with? What extra capabilities does it provide me as a user, as an employee? How can I use it? How can I utilize it to really unlock its full potential in terms of becoming a more efficient individual within a bigger team and use it as a whole team to accelerate innovation and productivity and efficiency and all of those things. So this is our agenda for today, but before we get into that, I would like to first introduce myself. My name is Karim Abdelhamid. I'm a cloud solutions architect and developer, and I was actually one of the first few teams who got the chance to test out Copilot in its early stages during my time in Microsoft. And I was able to, over the past two plus years, I was able to gauge its huge development in such a fast period and see how it's getting more and more capable as the time goes on. So it has been a really exciting journey, and I have been using it more and more. The more capabilities it gets and the more functionalities keep getting added to it, and that makes me just trust it that bit more in my day-to-day tasks. So on today's agenda, we'll see how AI in general, as we mentioned, but particularly Microsoft 365 Copilot, it can transform, it can accelerate productivity within an organization. It can accelerate innovation, it can enhance collaboration between team members, etc. We also get some insights on how AI integrates into daily workflows, meaning how can we use AI in practicality on a day-to-day basis to achieve tasks that otherwise would take longer time to achieve and with higher accuracy as well. Then we'll look into the topics of innovation and efficiency. How can I adapt to this new paradigm or this shift in paradigm rather in using artificial intelligence in daily workflows, and how can we innovate our processes internally within our organization or across different teams to utilize artificial intelligence to be able to achieve more in the day-to-day sense of an organization. Then we'll be looking into prompting techniques or prompt engineering or the art of the prompt. Depends on what you prefer on calling it. It's about how can we ask whatever it is we're trying to achieve from Copilot. How can we make that ask more efficient and more relevant? How can we ensure that the generated response is as relevant, as usable for us, as beneficial as possible? So that will be one of the topics we get into today. And last but not least, how can we get started? And why should we actually get started using Copilot? What are the benefits? Are they something that I need to wait to see the value of, or is it something that I can achieve right away by using Copilot straight away? And these are all questions that hopefully we'll be able to answer by the end of this session. All right, so before we begin, I'd like to do this little pulse check just to see how everyone's doing today. So If I can ask all the attendees, please, if you can, so you can either scan the QR code on the right on your phone or go to the website menti.com and enter the game code. So this is a little interactive Q&A kind of thing. So there'll be some questions on the screen that you can answer from your phone or from your device, and then we'll be able to see the replies all together. I see some thumbs up coming in. Cool, cool. Very nice. Okay, can I get a couple of thumbs up in Teams if everyone is in? Our mentee. See thumbs up flaring on mentee. All right, that's good. Okay, well, let's start off with asking, how are you feeling today? Are you feeling fantastic? Feeling good? Have you been better? Or are you absolutely drained? A couple of fantastics. That's amazing. Uh, okay. I think the Ramadan energy levels are hitting right now. Well, hopefully we can change that by the end of the session, get everyone to feeling fantastic. All right. The next question is, and it's actually something for everyone to reflect on. What is the one task that you do often that you feel takes more time than it should? Something that you think doesn't deserve that much time from you, but it actually ends up taking so much time from your daily work. Is it emails, whether writing them or reading them, meetings, going into meetings, going out of meetings, drafting documents or extracting insights from documents as well, or is just something different entirely? I see. Okay, so we are not that many today, but I see the majority leaning kind of a bit towards meetings. That's actually very common. So meetings and emails seem to be the our top two answers for this question. So on that note, we'll be coming back, by the way, to the Menti later on. So if you want to keep that tab open, but for the time being, so we've seen that maybe we all agree that meetings and emails do take up more time than they should, but there's still things that we end up spending considerable time on. You can be working on a deliverable that has a deadline and you need to be laser focused, and suddenly you get invited into a 2 hour long meeting that's not really aimed at you, or not really doesn't really concern you directly, but you just need to attend it in case someone has any tasks that they need to assign to you or has any questions for you on a specific topic. But you can kind of be halfway on the focus on the meeting, or you could be, looped into a 2 month old email thread with all the topics and discussions that have been going on between different people, and suddenly you're being required to reply to this email thread. So you need to catch up on what's going on and reply within the hour, which is something that might not be feasible at times. But see, that's where the value of Copilot would come in, where no one, all of these barriers that we're mentioning, they just wouldn't exist. So every single employee, every single individual within a team, they have the tools to learn, to extract insights, to create content, whatever that content might be, and everyone has the tools to do that. So the barriers to achievement and the barriers to learning no longer exist. So this is no longer a dream that we wish to achieve. This is something that's part in reality right now. Yeah. So with Copilot, that's no longer a dream. That's part of reality, and that's what Copilot does. But in order to see what Copilot does, let's give a quick overview on what Copilot is. So Copilot is, as probably most of you know, is a generative artificial intelligence model. So generative meaning it generates content based on a prompt from the user. So it's a large language model. Large language model meaning it has been trained on vast amounts of different data. Uh, these data can be text, different documents, Excel sheets, Word documents, PowerPoints, images as well. So it's just been trained on so many, on large amounts or huge amounts of data. And now it responds to prompts by going back to that reservoir of data that it has been trained on and starts generating response to the prompt that it has been asked. So that's what a generative AI is. Now, within your Microsoft 365 subscription, so every organization would have what we call a tenant. So the tenant is an organization's tenant is the box of Microsoft resources that exist for one organization. So what resources could they be? They could be your users, your groups, your hierarchies of users, who's working with whom, who's manager, who's a team member, what are the calendar invites that are happening inside the organization, what meetings are happening, what documents are being shared or collaborated on. So you've got this intricate web of relationships between all of these different components within an organization's tenant. Now, this intricate web of relationships is Microsoft Graph. And it's called Microsoft Graph because it's able to map out the different relationships between all of these different components within a tenant. So now you've got a generative AI model, and then you've got a sort of unifying web of intricate relationships. Now, when you apply this generative AI model, which is Copilot, on top of this Microsoft Graph, which is our web of relationships, then you get Microsoft 365 Copilot. So now you don't just have a generative AI model that you can chat with, but you actually have a generative AI model that's your personal assistant, and that's why it's called Copilot, because you're the pilot and they're the co-pilot. But the point being, it has the ability to know who you work with, what Teams conversations, what chats have you had recently, what meetings they're being recorded, what meetings have you had, what was said in those meetings. You can prepare different documents using Copilot. You can analyze, extract data from emails, from Word documents. So now we've extended the functionality of a generative AI model into your own assistant that has the ability to know the relationships within your day-to-day workflow. And the power that that provides is something that's not to be underestimated. So without further ado, does anyone have any questions before we get into some demos? Feel free to come off mute or type your question in chat throughout the entire webinar. Any questions? Let's get a few thumbs up if everything is going well. Thank you. Great. All right. So let's move on to some demos. All right, so here I've got my Microsoft 365 home screen. If you have a Microsoft 365 subscription, which I assume everyone here does, you get this home screen, and once you add the Copilot subscription to your user, once your user has the add-on of a Copilot subscription, you'll see here a Copilot chat icon. This is just I say just, but it's not just a generative AI, but it's a chat window that you can chat with your own Copilot. Now, if we see here, we can quickly see the types of functionalities that we're dealing with, or the types of capabilities that we're dealing with here. So, for example, we've got prep for that meeting, help me prepare for this meeting that we're in right now. And because it has access to my calendar, it has access to my email, it can quickly recognize what email I'm referring to, and I can even reference other components. It can extract insights from documents, even Excel sheets. It can understand Excel sheets and extract some insights from it. But something that we need to highlight over here once we get to this stage is the concern of security. Someone might say, how do I make sure that my data is safe? Where is my data being processed? Where is the content being generated? Well, if you remember, we mentioned that every organization in a Microsoft 365 ecosystem would have its own tenant, which is its box of resources. Now, Copilot, so we've taken, so this is your tenant. The Copilot and its generative AI capabilities is being applied on top of your data within your tenant. So none of your data leaves the tenant ever. So unlike other generative AI solutions, for example, your data does not go and get used later on for training the model and enhancing it. That's absolutely not the case with Microsoft. Microsoft is very serious about its security protocols, and there's the responsible AI framework that makes sure that your data is safe, it's private, and it's fully transparent to you how your data is being used. So, as a rule of thumb, your data does not leave the tenant. No one has access to it outside of the tenant, and the data is not being used to train the models or enhance them in any way, shape, or form. Now, another thing, someone might say, does that mean if my manager is using Copilot and my manager has access to some files that I don't have access to, but he's using Copilot and I'm using Copilot, does that mean that I can ask my own Copilot on these files? Does my Copilot have access to these files? The answer is absolutely not. So the way access privileges work for Copilot is they follow suit of the user they're tied to. So every Copilot license is tied to a Microsoft 365 user subscription. That means that whatever access the user has, Copilot will have the exact same access. So if there are some documents that are confidential that I don't have access to, my Copilot, if I ask Copilot about them, it cannot even see these files. They don't exist to Copilot. Okay, so that's one bit that we needed to make very clear. Now, let's jump on probably the what's been keeping everyone awake at night, which is Outlook. And so let's look at some of the functionalities within Outlook that we can use Copilot to make our lives easier. So let's take a full scenario, and this scenario will stay with us for the duration of these demos because I'd like everyone to see how it can use Copilot on a day-to-day basis. So I'll describe a full cycle of day-to-day tasks and use Copilot in the middle to achieve better results. Okay, so I've got an email thread here between me and my colleague Fadi, where we're discussing, AI in the public sector. Of course, all of these data are for demo purposes only, but this is an actual email that exists. So we're discussing AI, the usage of AI within public services in Qatar, and how can we formulate or create training programs that address the skills gap, and increase digital literacy when it comes to artificial intelligence, and how does that tie in with Qatar's Digital Agenda 2030. So we have a thread between us, a relatively long thread of emails going back and forth regarding a topic. If I'd like to summarize this long thread, I simply click on Summary by Copilot. And what Copilot does is it goes through the whole thread and gives me the gist of it. It gives me, the bread and butter, the things that actually matter within the thread in a summarized format. So it says here, you and Fadi discussed the rapid AI adoption in Qatar. We agreed digital literacy is crucial for leveraging. We suggested researching this sector each. Uh, I can ask Copilot, I can ask it more about these things. So I can say, and by the way, when we get to prompt engineering, we'll see how we can make our prompts even more effective. But let's say, uh, summarize the thread, but I'd like to give it more context, highlight the key insights, objectives, and next steps. So I'd like to extract these elements from the email thread. All right, so we can see here it has divided into sections. So these are the key insights, AI in public services. Then we talked about training and upskilling, real case studies. What are the objectives of this email thread? To identify AI use cases and research and compare notes. So next steps will be the sector research and then schedule a meeting. Okay, right. So the next thing for us, let's say within our scenario, would be to schedule a meeting to discuss in length with Fadi what we just spoke about. Again, what I can do is I can use Copilot to schedule that meeting. So if I click the email that I would like to schedule the meeting on or related to, I can see here a small icon called Schedule with Copilot. Now, if I click on this, you'll see an invitation, a meeting invite is being generated. A title has been suggested, a suitable time where me and Fadi are both available. Because if we take it back to what we mentioned earlier, Copilot has the ability to know uh, who who I'm working with. So it knows Fadi, and it would know people who are within my tenant, so anyone who I'm working with, and it knows their schedule as well. So since me as a user, as a human being, I can open Fadi's calendar and check when he's free to send him an invitation. Copilot can do that for me as well. So it suggests a suitable time for us, and it also so it creates this agenda summarizing the conversation for so far, so we can include that within the meeting insight. So I can click insert. So within the meeting invitation now I have the email thread attached and the agenda of our meeting based on the email conversation and the summary of the conversation so far. And these are just a few clicks that I've done using Copilot, and I can just hit send, and that meeting would be scheduled. All right, I see a question coming in. How can I ensure that Copilot accurately interprets the context of emails and focuses on the most relevant information? I've noticed that if the prompt is not precise, the outcome can vary significantly. Well, yes. To answer your question, the prompt conciseness does have a huge impact on the generated response. And we'll see later on, once we get to the art of the prompt or prompt engineering, how can we make the prompts as efficient as possible. So yeah, Sorry, I was reading something. So yeah, looking at different prompts, you can see that it will vary significantly. How accurately does it interpret the context of emails? I would say it's highly accurate. So assuming that the insights exist within the email thread and assuming that the prompt is written precisely and efficiently, the generated response will have a very high accuracy. But oh, the recording stopped. But we always recommend for any content that's being generated by artificial intelligence is to always review that content before publishing. So whether it's I'm using that summary to create something else or however I'm using the content, I have to review it. I have to make sure that it's coherent, it's relevant. But generally speaking, if the data is accurate and my prompt is concise, I can guarantee that the accuracy of the generated content would be very high. Uh, yeah, I think I see that it's still recording. All right, so I've, let's say I have scheduled that meeting and now I've done the meeting with Fadi and we've actually recorded that meeting. So another uh, widely used feature of Copilot is transcription. So this is the meeting that I've had with Fadi. So that's already been done. And now that the meeting is done, I have a recorded session, and a transcription as well. And that means I can ask Copilot questions about it. So I can say, summarize meeting. And now it's going to look at the transcription of the meeting, what has been said, who said what, the main topics that were mentioned, and it has generated a summary for me. So we can see here the key topics: AI adoption, workforce readiness, training and interaction, and this is still around the same topic that we discussed in the meeting, and we discussed earlier in the email thread as well. A training framework and what are the next steps. All right, so now I've got this meeting transcription and I can extract insight from the meeting. Okay, now let me jump to Word and then I'll get back to Teams one more time. But let's say I would like to generate a minutes of meeting for that meeting. So I can say draft a minutes of meeting for. Now uh, I'd like to create a document of the minutes of meeting based on my meeting with Fadi. So if I click /, I can reference different elements. I can reference other files. I can reference emails, or I can reference meetings. So we've got this meeting right here, and I can click generate. And now it's going over the transcription and generating minutes of meeting and applying that to the document. And within seconds, it's already generated the minutes of meeting. Now I can ask it, I can make my prompt, as we mentioned, I can make my prompt more clear. I can give it more context. I can mention why do I want or do I need this minutes of meeting. I can assign the tone of the minutes of meeting, make it formal, make it informal, whatever. So if I'm happy with it, I can keep it. And now I have a ready document of minutes of meeting. Okay, now going back to Teams, so we've created the minutes of meeting draft using Copilot as well. So you can see how we're using Copilot in every step of the way. So I've received the email, I summarize it, I can schedule a meeting using Copilot. Then the meeting, I can extract insights from it using Copilot. I can create minutes of meeting uh, in a Word document using Copilot as well. And even if I have a Teams chat, a Teams conversation, it could be with a person or a group, a Teams channel. And no matter how long the conversation is, I can say summarize this conversation. And you can see that it is generating the response based on the conversation that I had with Fadi. So let's say I've generated the minutes of meeting, and now there are a few things that we need to get sorted. So I reach out to Fadi on Teams, and we discuss the effective use of AI in the public sector, real cases, use cases of applying AI within the government, and then tying that into the uh, digital agenda of 2030 in Qatar. So we've got this nice conversation that I can extract insights from it. I can include, or I should include rather, and we'll see that in the art of the prompt, or how can I formulate my prompt. But I should include a source of information, a context. In this case, the context would be giving it some background. If we've had, um, face-to-face conversations that Copilot would not be aware of, I can include that to give it a bit of extra background before it generates the response. I can identify expectations. I can say, include a suggested timeline for the tasks. So that would be an expectation that I have from Copilot, and it would create the table and then respond to me. So now if I'd like to respond to Fadi, I can just type the message here, or I can actually ask Copilot to draft a response. So I can say, draft a response to Fadi suggesting next steps to begin designing the training program. And I hit enter, and within seconds, so it has actually named us because it's tasks, and these tasks are being assigned. So I can just copy paste that and send it. I can go over it, edit it out, or I can ask Copilot to make the tone more friendly, more formal, etc. But here I have the response. I can simply just send it, and it's good to go. All right, so now let's see what I've been able to do so far. So I've analyzed the meeting. I've analyzed the email thread over here in Outlook. I've summarized using Copilot. I've extracted some insights from Copilot, and then I scheduled the meeting using Copilot. And once we got to the meeting, I was able to extract different insights from the meeting and summarize the meeting transcription, ask questions about it. Then I headed to Word, and I was able to create minutes of meeting. So now these minutes of meeting are available to me. Now, let's say I would like to use what we discussed in the meeting to create a PowerPoint. Let's see what Copilot can provide me with there. So if I head on to PowerPoint, now I can create a blank presentation, or I can start with a template. So we all work in standardized organizations. Probably we have specific templates that we should work with, and we shouldn't do anything out of the extraordinary. So if I open a PowerPoint template, I can go to the little Copilot icon and say, replace with a new presentation. And I can say, create a presentation about um, our newest training program that will launch next month. Use the content of, and now I'd like to refer to the minutes of meeting document because that is what we'll be using here. So within PowerPoint, I can only reference Word documents. So I can choose the minutes of meeting and hit generate. Now, a question here might come is what files does Copilot have access to? Can it see my local files, for example? Can it see files on other tenants? And the answer to that is very simple. So if the file that you're trying to reference is exists within your OneDrive or your SharePoint, in that case, Copilot does have the ability to use that file, and you as a user have the ability to reference that file for Copilot. So it cannot have access to your local files because it doesn't recognize your machine, your laptop, or your computer device. It only knows the organization's tenant. So if it is in the tenant, if it's the tenant's OneDrive or SharePoint, and you as a user have access to it, then Copilot has access to it as well. All right, so what has it done so far? It has went to the minutes of meeting document, analyzed its content, and then extracted a training program presentation from the minutes of meeting. Now, keep in mind that, we mentioned earlier that if the data is accurate and the prompt is accurate, then the generated response would be accurate. But here I'm generating a training program or I'm creating a presentation about a training program based on a simple minutes of meeting. So it only has so much material to work with, just the talking points that we did and the different action items that we have from the meeting. But regardless of all that, it has created the outline for the PowerPoint presentation. I can rearrange it if I'd like to put the action items first. If I'd like to delete some topic or add another topic and ask Copilot to generate the outline for that topic, I can just cancel that. So once I'm happy with it, I can say generate slides. Now we can see here there's a limitation. So Copilot can only generate up to 40 PowerPoint slides. If I'm happy with the outline, I'll click generate. And now it's using this existing template to create this new presentation. So it should take a few seconds. You can see now it's starting to populate the different slides. With the different titles, different talking points. We'll also see in a bit that it also adds visual effects, so it can add images to the presentations as well. Excuse me. And not just that, it also does the slide transitions and animations for you. So let's say we're happy with this. Looking down, let's keep it. Now, if I open the presentation and I start the slideshow. So as we can see, there are, so we've got the slide transitions, some fading action that's happening, as well as the animation for the text on the slides. And we can also see that it has stuck to the template that it was given. And of course, I can ask Copilot for more insights. I can ask it to generate an image. If I'd like to have a list of questions to keep the audience engaged, I can ask it to, analyze the PowerPoint slides and give me a list of questions to make the session more interactive, and so on and so forth. So all of these capabilities are now within my reach using Copilot. And if I have some issues with the design, then I can just use another AI tool, which is Designer, which would, suggest other designs, and it's actually part of Copilot. So it looks at the slides and tries to suggest other designs for it. Question you're coming in. PowerPoint. No, so you shouldn't include that in the prompt. You don't need to specify to use the logo, but actually, so it doesn't know that this is the logo. This is just the background for the template. So the template, but we cannot have a slide master view here. Yeah, I need to use the desktop version. But if we open PowerPoint on desktop, we can see that this template, so it's not just a PowerPoint presentation, it's actually a template, meaning that it has a design in Slide Master. So every type of slide has a specific layout. So for any slide that looks like this, this will be the background. You can see it's not a logo, it's not an image. It's just the background that was indicated in the template. So yeah, it will generate the content based on the based on the look or the aesthetics of the template, or the layout. That's the word. The layout of the template. So however your template is designed, the generated presentation will follow the same template. So section title slides would have this layout. Different title slides would have this layout. The main or the beginning slide would have this layout, and this is also a background image. But it uses things like the so you can see here that this is not like its own image. It's part of the background. But it uses also the formatting for the text, different fonts that are specific fonts that are being used, specific colors that are being used as well. So all of these components it takes into consideration when creating a PowerPoint presentation according to a template, another template. All right. Any other questions? We still got a few functionalities that we need to go through. A couple of thumbs up in chat. Let's just make sure that I didn't lose anyone. How's everyone feeling? Nice. I see a few thumbs up coming in. Okay. Yes, Sonia, you have your hand raised, or was that a thumbs up? An intended thumbs up?
By mistake. So
Cool. All right. So I've done all of these wonderful things. Now I'd like to get back to Fadi, send them a nice email, include the attachment of the PowerPoint presentation that I created, maybe share some insights, share some other documents that I've had success with within the tasks that we were speaking about. So now I'd like to reply to Fadi with an email. So I can come back to Outlook, I can go to Copilot and say, reply, and what do I want this email to say? Reply to Fadi, informing him with the latest updates I have successfully created the PowerPoint presentation for our demo session next week. And now what would I like to also include? Uh, include suggested timeline of the other tasks that were mentioned in our conversation. Now I can stop here, or I can give it more context or more instructions. Make the email sound friendly. I work a lot with Fadi. I don't want to come off as a formal grumpy cat, so I would like my email to sound friendly. So I write my prompt and I click generate. And let's look here. I hope you're doing well. Just want to give you a quick update. So it is giving it an update. So here that I've successfully created for our demo session next week, because I'll share with you and get your feedback. So then I would manually attach the PowerPoint presentation or just add it as a OneDrive link, and suggesting a timeline for the next week and what things we should be working on. And we can see it sounds, exciting, sounds friendly. Now, if I'm happy with that, I'll keep it. I can hit send right away. If I'm not, I can just regenerate the response. Okay, so I can send that email. Let's not do that and start it value. But I can send that email right away. And now let's say after sending it, I would like to, this is like a little extra trinket for you guys. If I'd like to create an inbox rule, so for example, I'd like to create a new rule that if an email comes in with the subject, with the word important within the subject, I'd like to label that email as a red label email. So instead of looking where rules are and how to create the rules, I can just ask Copilot. So I can say create a new rule to label emails that contain the word important in the subject as red label, and click enter. Now, what Copilot is doing is it's understanding my intent using natural language processing, and voila, it has opened to me the settings, mail, rules. It has even named the rule for me and added the condition that if the subject includes important, categorize as red category. And I can save this rule, and now my rule is saved. So whenever I get an email, excuse me, whenever I get an email with the word important in the subject, it now gets labeled as red category. Let's now apply this email. Okay, so now coming back to our scenario, let's say Fadi has reviewed my PowerPoint. And now, by the way, because we're in a collaborative ecosystem and we're all working within a Microsoft 365 tenant, so now we're collaborating, me and Fadi, once I share the file with him. So now we're both collaborating on this file. Now Fadi might see something that he doesn't like or might have better ideas to apply, and he might come here and add a new comment for me, or say Kareem. So let's imagine this is Fadi here typing, reviewing my content. Please add more talking points and change the image. And it automatically knows that I'm assigning something to someone. So I can assign it to the person, so they will receive an email saying that they've been assigned something. But now this comment is on the document. So once I have, a full team that's collaborating and reviewing and giving feedback on a piece of document, I can come to Copilot and say, summarize the feedback, highlighting the changes that need to be made. Let me specify the source on the comments. Now, okay, so it has, so now we see that um, maybe the prompt was not clear enough, so it has went on and it took the freedom of giving me its own feedback from on the document. So let's say I would like to change that, so I can say uh, what comments were given this document. Strictly use the comments section of this PowerPoint. Has went on. Okay, so you see, sometimes the generated response might not be what you want it to be. Maybe if we have some more data within the comments, we can refer to it. We can say, did Kareem ask for specific changes, or did anyone ask for changes in this document? Let's try if that works. But maybe if I have more comments, more feedback, it will have other things. Maybe if I reset the conversation, because now it's just giving me uh, the same feedback, the same comments that was giving me uh, earlier in the conversation. So you see, generated responses are not 100% accurate. They're not always something that should be taken and used. But still, we can still make very good extract key insights and do a lot of functionalities and save a lot of time as well using Copilot. All right, so I've done the feedback, let's say, and I've changed what needs to be changed. Now let's jump over to Excel. Okay, so let's say we've got here. Let's say we've got here an Excel sheet that has some KPIs related to service efficiency and how is it's related to artificial intelligence. So how does the adoption of artificial intelligence within different organizations, different entities, how does it relate to KPIs such as service requests processed, citizen satisfaction, etc. So I've got an Excel sheet that I'm trying to really understand, make sense of the data that's being presented to me, maybe even extend on the data that I already have. So I can use Copilot for that. So if I go to Copilot, and I can see here the suggested prompts that I can use. I can create formulas, understand, summarize using pivot charts, etc. So let's say I would like to show data insights. If I'd like to, create graphs, pie charts, line charts, etc., all of these things. So without going through the hassle of choosing the data, then choosing the type of chart that I'm trying to create, etc. So here it has created the average of efficiency score per each department. So it has graphed the efficiency score versus every department name. Now here it's also explaining what the insight is that it has created, but here I can see a button that says add all insights to grid. So now I'd like to really explode on this insights and explode on the graphs and get as many relations as I can from my data. So I've added that to a grid, and you can see here that's the efficiency score by department. That's the service requests by efficiency score, and you can see that it's actually giving its verdict on whether these two values seem to be correlated or not. And you can see all of these different scatter graphs that are being presented here that can help me make sense of my data. I can also, so coming back to the sheet, let's say I feel like there's a piece missing here. There's some value, a numerical value that I'd like to calculate. I just don't know which relationship do I need to monitor or gauge. So I can come here to Copilot and ask it to suggest a formula column. Now it will start understanding the data that's being presented in the sheet, understand the relationships between them, and suggest a new formula column here. So let's say calculates the performance index. So it has created a performance index formula. So that's the formula here. So it's service request process times citizen satisfaction percentage divided by the average response time. But then what? I'm not sure what the performance index indicates, but we can see the formula for it here. So if I'm happy with it, I can insert that column, and now I've got this new value, which I can ask Copilot also to elaborate on and explain what does it actually mean, what does it calculate, etc. Any questions? Any comments, feedback on what we've been seeing? Feel free to come off mute or just drop it in chat if you're more comfortable with that. Okay, great. Right. So where did that go? There you go. Right. So what we just saw, we just witnessed sort of a real example of a scenario that we might face in day-to-day work. So I kind of wanted to take everyone on this nice journey with me, where we start with a simple email thread between me and my colleague asking me to achieve some tasks, then using Copilot to extract insights, then schedule the meeting, then summarize that meeting, create minutes of meeting for the conversation that we had, then use Copilot to help me create the PowerPoint presentation and ask questions about the PowerPoint presentation, then go on to Teams and analyze our chat conversations, as well as analyzing an Excel sheet and creating some visual aids to help with extracting the insights. So from what we've seen, I think it becomes very apparent who Copilot could be for. And I think the answer is everyone. So whether they're leaders, strategists, business analysts, IT engineers, security engineers, sales professionals, marketing professionals, even someone at the reception help desk would benefit from using Copilot. So that's actually one of the slogans of Microsoft is to empower every organization to achieve more. And the way Copilot does that is it empowers each and every individual within that organization. So the mundane tasks that could have taken us a long time to achieve, we can achieve now much faster using Copilot. So we can actually focus on the really meaningful stuff, generating ideas together, collaborating with the team members, thinking of ways to improve, ways to innovate, and using Copilot empowers all of the different individuals, all of the different team members within the organization to achieve those things. Now, in order to use Copilot effectively, we mentioned the importance of using an effective prompt. Now, there isn't a strict guideline. There isn't like a handbook that you can use for effective prompt, simply because prompts can be anything. You can ask Copilot to do so many things that no prompt would be the same as the other. But however, there are some certain best practices that we can follow to ensure that our prompt is as efficient as possible. So first thing is the goal, what it is that I'm trying to achieve from Copilot. What do I want it to do? Now, in order to give it more, edge and be more concise, I need to specify a context for Copilot as well. So, for example, let's say I'm generating a marketing strategy for our new training program, and then I ask Copilot to generate a market strategy for a new training program, and I stop there. It might generate some content for me, but more often than not, that means that the content would not be relevant. It will not be immediately beneficial for me. It will not be usable. It would just go on and create its own version that might not really help me and be effective for me. What I need to do is provide within my prompt, I need to provide some context, some background information. All right, so what is the training program? Who is the target audience? Because it's creating a marketing strategy, right? So I need to think of the goal that I'm trying to achieve and what context can I provide Copilot to help me achieve that goal. I can also identify a source of information. So, we've seen how I can reference a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation or a meeting or an email. I can even identify a specific person as the source of information. So it's sort of like grounding your data a bit with the traditional AI models. But it just means that I would like to extract the information not from any source possible to Copilot or available to Copilot, but I know where my information lives, and I want Copilot to use that source of information to extract the most relevant insights for me. So source is a very important thing. And last but not least is expectations. I can actually define to Copilot what to include in the response. I can say include a timeline, include a mind map of the different tasks that need to be achieved, include format the response in the format of a list or respond in the format of a table. So these are all expectations that I define for Copilot before it begins generating the content. So over here, I've got this example prompt. So I wanted to summarize a specific meeting. I need to give it some context. I was late to attend. I need the brief overview of key points discussed. So now Copilot will know to not include, the general conversation. And when everyone was introducing themselves, when everyone was saying how their day was, etc., it's just focusing on the key takeaways because I was late and I need to catch up with the meeting. And by the way, this is one of the capabilities of Copilot. Um, so let's see here within our meeting. So when the meeting is being recorded, but if everyone is within the same tenant, or if I was the host of the recording of this session, I can click Open Copilot, and I would have here a live chat session with Copilot regarding the meeting. So I can actually ask it questions about the meeting while the meeting is ongoing. So yeah. So I'm giving it some context. Now I need to define a source of information. Here I'm defining somewhat specific and include the project timeline. These are my expectations from Copilot. So include the timeline within the response, and I've got the final prompt here ready for me to submit. Okay. Now this aka.ms/Copilot Lab, it's a prompt library. I recommend checking it out. You can just see some of the most efficient prompts that are required. Depending on what you need to do, if you need to prepare for a meeting, if you need to get caught up on the latest updates, you will find sample prompts that are effective on this portal, Copilot Lab. All right, now we're gonna jump back to Menti in just a second, but let's say I've got a question. This is a question for everyone here. So let's say you need to draft a professional email to a client. So you've got one of your clients you need to send an email to, and within that email, you need to explain the new features of a new product that you have within your organization, and you'd like to invite them to a demo session. Now, let's head back to Menti. I assume the tab is still open. Can I get some thumbs up on the Menti if the tab's still open? Okay. Let's see. Do you guys need me to get the instructions again so you can rejoin? Okay, I see. People are in. Okay, great. So we've got the scenario. We need to draft an email to a client, highlighting the features of a new product and inviting them to a demo session next week. So what do you think would be an effective prompt to achieve this? Which answer would you choose? Now, keep in mind what we discussed regarding an effective prompt, whether it should be, what should it include? I need the goal, some background information, um, clear instructions. Okay, great. Yeah, so absolutely. As a rule of thumb, the clearer you are with Copilot and the more information you give it, the better the generated response would be. So everyone is absolutely right. Yes, that is the most effective prompt um, to achieve drafting the email effectively. Right. So getting started with Copilot is as simple as assigning the license, and that is something that your administrator would do. So if you know that uh, you've got Copilot licenses within your organization, then you should right away see. Let me just switch to the other tab. Yeah, over here. So once the Copilot license has been attached to your user, you'll see this icon everywhere within your Microsoft 365 subscription. So you can chat with Copilot and whichever application that you open, you'll also find the Copilot icon here in the big chat window over here. Okay. Now, for as to why would people start using Copilot, I think it has become very apparent that mundane tasks that would take longer are just so much quicker using Copilot. So it does, in fact, boost your productivity. Also, collaborating with other team members. So we've seen how receiving and sending emails and analyzing Teams chat conversations, extracting insights from meetings is now just so much easier. So there's less room for error in communication between team members, which means that collaboration, cooperation is bound to get enhanced if we use Copilot. And it's like having your own personal assistant, as we said. It's named Copilot for a reason. So you're the one driving, you're the one steering the wheel, but you always have Copilot to help you extract better insights, make better decisions, and formulate content in a way that's much more efficient and much more productive than uh, than how you would in your day-to-day life. Uh, so only a couple of things left for us to do, which the first one is claiming a nice little badge on Microsoft Learn. So I'll leave the instructions in chat as well in a second. So this webinar is also a module on Microsoft Learn. So I'll give everyone the code. They can redeem it on their Learn profile, and then you can have this nice little certificate that you can share on your LinkedIn profiles or whichever other platforms that you prefer using. So I'll get to these instructions in a second. and also the feedback form. So these two tasks are the only two things left for us today. I have left my name for everyone here. My name is Karim Abdulhamid. I must say it has been an absolute pleasure. I always enjoy giving these sessions. I think particularly because I've just grown to use Copilot so much in my day-to-day, not just work life. Even I use it, for my own personal research. I ask it questions and generate images from it, and it's just become an integral part of my day-to-day tasks that were just all manual. So I'd like to say that I really enjoy Copilot sessions or artificial intelligence sessions in general. And I've really enjoyed giving this webinar to you all. I hope I was a light guest on your heart on this Ramadan morning. I hope I didn't drain anyone or bore anyone. So please, this is the QR code for the feedback form. I'll put it side by side with the instructions for the badge as well. So please feel free to leave us feedback. It really helps us gauge what we're doing well, if there's something that we need to be doing better. So if there's something that I need to be doing better myself with the content, with the presentation, with anything, so please let us know if there's anything. And I think that would be it for today. Let me just bring up the uh, both the instructions. Let's see if we can do that. And we've got this over here. All right. Okay, so we've got the feedback form and the achievement codes. Okay, so for the feedback, it's simple. You scan the QR code and you fill in the form, and this is my name over here. Now for the Learn Microsoft instructions, actually, let me post the link for everyone. So if you can go to this link over here that I just dropped in chat, it's learn.microsoft.com. So this is the learning portal of Microsoft. Then what you need to do is, so let's walk through the steps. So go over here and sign in. Now you should use, or it's recommended to use your own personal email, and so that is your own personal Microsoft account. So that's either Hotmail, OneDrive, or OneDrive. Sorry. So that's at Outlook or at Live or at Hotmail. Sorry, I had to gather the words there a bit. So once you're signed in, you'll see your initials there at the top. So if you go to Profile, and then if you scroll down a bit and you go to Achievements, and then if you have an achievement code, redeem your code now. So click that link, and then you would enter the code that's here and click Redeem. So you paste that here and click Redeem. And once that is done, you go to Courses and click the little print icon, and you will see your certificate that is ready over here. So let me get back to that view, and actually let me type in the flow steps so no one gets confused. Hmm. Hmm. 827. Right, so I've just dropped the process for redeeming the achievement code. Actually, let me. So I think there should be a link here in the forums. And I've also dropped a link to the feedback form as well. Great, thanks. If you've done these two tasks, thank you so much. And thank you so much for attending this webinar. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Anya. Thank you. My pleasure. So if you're done with the feedback form and the um, achievement codes, feel free to drop. I'll just hang around in case anyone is facing any issues. Please feel free to come off mute or send on chat.